Hello everybody, and we are in Anderstorp in Sweden in 1974. Yes, a Swedish Grand Prix. Sweden doesn't have a Grand Prix anymore, hasn't had a Grand Prix for a long time. But in 1974 they did, and they all showed up to see Ronnie Peterson, their fellow Swede, who had just won the Monte Carlo Grand Prix the race before. Being the second time that they had come to Sweden, there were some setup issues, which we'll get into later. But first, here's a look at the track, the Scandinavian Raceway. It looks a pretty neat track. It's got a carousel and a flight straight and a start curvin and Opel. Well, some interesting corner names there. This is Bertil Ruus in his one and only Grand Prix. And Leo Kinnunen, the first ever Finn in Formula One, and the last man to wear an open-faced helmet in Formula One in this race. There he is. So the setup issues, yes. Have a listen to the drivers having some struggles.
That alteration made an oversteer wall. But it felt like it was quick on the straight.
I would like to see when they scale it, but we haven't got it yet.
The Baggers didn't scale it properly, sure. Because all the time lovely. This is only we have in Fiorano before you recheck the car on the scale. And it's alright.
Oh, the tyres must be slightly different.
On the 831. Got the 831s here. Opinions. Yeah.
And then what about the gearing? How that's supposed to be the right one? On the way out, it oversteers nicely, but it's just got too much understeer right.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it make
The coolest driver of the 1970s, James Hunt, was in the Hesketh team. Lord Hesketh didn't know too much about cars. Harvey Postlethwaite was the designer. And here's what James Hunt was complaining about.
I've got a lot of grip, but when you turn in and the tyre sort of leans over, then it's a bit understeering because they've got plenty of grip.
Yeah, it sounds tricky. Understeering here, oversteering there. Here's Leo Kinnunen in his Surtees car, the Flying Finn, indeed. I think all the Finns were the Flying Finn, Häkkinen, Rosberg, all of them, because, geez, they were all really quick. So, yeah, all of them just Flying Finns. This is Vittorio Brambilla. And as we headed out to practice, the crowd came to see Ronnie Peterson in his Lotus. And you'll notice Ronnie Peterson has the #1 plate on his car, but he's not the defending world champion. That was Sir Jackie Stewart. But he had retired. And nowadays they'll give, nowadays numbers are different, but maybe in the 90s, you remember Ayrton Senna was a #2 and Damon Hill was a #0. They don't give out the #1 plate to a driver who's not the world champion. But in the 70s they did, and that's because Lotus was the constructors' world champion. So the Lotus cars were #1 and 2, whether or not the driver won the championship or not. Didn't matter. I'm sure if Jackie Stewart had continued into 74, he would have had the #1 plate. But yeah, it's interesting. Nowadays, just choose your number and you can take #1 if you're the world champion. Before that, it was pretty similar to this, but the world champion only ever had the #1, so not the car. In the 70s, it was the cars. This is Clay Ragazzoni in his Ferrari. And here is Jody Scheckter in the Tyrrell. And as things turned out, it was the Tyrrells that were fastest, with Jody Scheckter second, and his teammate Patrick Depailler getting his first ever pole position at the 1974 Swedish Grand Prix. So good on you, Patrick. I'm sure his boss Ken Tyrrell was very, very, very pleased with that. 1-2 on the starting. The crowd had come to see Ronnie Peterson, and he made a great start here. The two Tyrrells got away well, but Ronnie Peterson, he got into second place. It was Jody Scheckter took the lead, and he wouldn't lose that lead. And Patrick Depailler down in third place, being hassled by the Ferraris. Scheckter from Peterson, and then Depailler, then Lauda, Ragazzoni, Reutemann, James Hunt, Jean-Pierre Jarier, Jackie X, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Denny Hulme. Our friend Leo Kinnunen, the Flying Finn, flew for 8 laps before retiring with an engine problem. Mike Hailwood in the McLaren, he would retire. He had a fuel leak. And poor Bertel Roos, we'll mention him now, his one and only race in F1 sadly only lasted 2 laps, and he retired with a gearbox problem. Jean-Pierre Jarier, he had an interesting race. He had brake failure at one point, and his fire extinguisher went off in his cockpit. So he eventually did manage to finish 5th. Amazing effort from him. Ronnie Peterson, lap 8. It was over for him. He had a half-shaft problem. Clay Ragazzoni retired with a gearbox problem. Yeah, reliability was not big in Formula 1 in the 70s, as Ronnie explained to Colin Chapman, his boss. Jody Scheckter, no problems for him out front. He just continued going. Hunted down by his teammate. I'm sure there were some team orders there telling him not to fight. Nicky Lauda, 10 laps from the end, was running 3rd. He retired with a gearbox problem, promoting James Hunt up into 3rd place. And poor Vittorio Brambilla in the March, he was in 5th place from 17th on the grid. He's brought his car to a stop at the pit straight as Scheckter drifted through the final corner, and the Tyrrells came home 1 and 2. And look at Brambilla, he pushed his car across the line and was actually classified 10th. Good on him. So Jody Scheckter had won his first ever Grand Prix from his teammate Patrick Depailler. First Tyrrell 1-2 since the German Grand Prix the previous year with Sir Jackie Stewart and Francois Sever. Great job by James Hunt to bring it home on the podium. Emerson Fittipaldi 4th, JPJ in 5th, and the legend Graham Hill finishing in 6th place, gaining the final point. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed a look back at Jody Scheckter's first win. And until the next time, have a good time all the time. Cheers.